Welcome to the post-game episode of The Independent after Notre Dame's 37-15 victory over Pittsburgh, which felt a lot more like 37-9 here at the stadium formerly known as Heinz Field, which it's definitely kind of in the Sears Tower, Willis Tower vibes for me. Like, this is always Heinz Field.
Well, and it's what's the other? We were referencing the other one. Oh, so the Carrier Dome. Always the Carrier Dome.
Yeah, here we are, and it's like, look, this was classic Pitt Notre Dame and classic Pat Narduzzi, a non-must-win game that then he's hanging on for dear life at the end, calling a timeout to score a touchdown, which created a fun post-game handshake when Marcus was a little bit kind of like get off of me, bro vibes to it. So, yeah, that there was a little bit of something extra there at the end as Notre Dame. Like, Notre Dame was not perfect, but I thought they played pretty well. And, I mean, they were the far superior team. I know that I think my prediction was 38-17, so it wasn't that far off, but it felt like a bigger margin of victory than 37-15. I felt Notre Dame, I think I totaled up like Pitt. I think in their first three plays and their last two plays, I think they were about 60 yards. And they had about 159 yards on the 59 plays in between that. Mason Heinschel was made to look like a freshman quarterback who was under-recruited for a reason. Like, I know he's had a great season, but Chris Ash and Notre Dame's defense, man, they made a very talented young quarterback look just really, really young. It was a very impressive performance on that side of the ball from Notre Dame.
Yeah, it felt like when they stopped him, when Burnham stopped him on fourth down early on, it was going to be one of those long days at the office for Pat Narduzzi and company. We talked a little bit off air. Not surprised he did what he did at the end. I remember as a student in college, straight from Mark D'Antonio, like they call 3 timeouts down 30-plus points at the end of a game when they don't have the ball. I get doing that when you're building a program and you're in year 1 or year 2 and trying to instill a mentality. Feels a little less punchy, if you will, at the end of a game like this in year 11 for Pat Narduzzi. But it really was like the greatest hits of Notre Dame Pitt, right? Like, I think we both were on the same page pregame in the sense of I really didn't think this was going to be a good football game, but it was the last real meaningful one Notre Dame was playing. Game day was there. It is, a rivalry in a traditional sense. And these games, even when they're not close, are weird. Like, today was weird. Like, you got a 2-point, you got a pick six on a 2-point, which happened not last time, but once again when Joe Tessitore called them in 2016 against Texas. You get some weird plays that don't seem to make a whole lot of sense, and you get some Narduzzi being Narduzzi at the end of it as well. Like, it was never an outcome that ever felt remotely in doubt. No. Notre Dame clearly was a better football team. I think there's a lot. I mean, to me, if you're Marcus Freeman, this is the perfect scenario, right? Like, they didn't play anything close to their A game. There's a lot to pick apart here. And yet the talent on that roster is so good that, they still have room to grow. And on top of that, that defense just gets better and better and better week after week after week. I didn't, they had nowhere to go but up after 2.5 weeks. I get that. But I wasn't convinced we'd be here on November 15th after that start, seeing what we've seen out of this group. I thought we might, at the beginning of the year, this is what I thought they'd look like. But I'm absolutely lying to you if I say after 0-2 and after the first half at Purdue, I thought they would get it together the way they have.
Yeah. Tonight, you get Christian Gray back. He makes an impact, early PBU. Adon Schuler, it feels like sort of the spiritual leader of the secondary. I thought his hit on third down on Pitt's first drive, basically, I don't want to say it ended the game because it was still 0-0, but it was like they hit Pitt in the stomach so hard that Pitt like crumbled to the floor and did not get up again until Mason Heinschel was on the bench and Notre Dame had emptied, gone too deep on its defense. Because Pitt just had absolutely nothing to bring to the table at that point. Desmond Reed, who I think is a really good player, and they put him in some good matchups with Drake Bowen in the passing game. But like when your entire offense comes down to nobody's open, quarterback scramble, and did we match up our running back on their middle linebacker? That was it. That was the entire Pitt offense. They could do nothing else. it's really impressive. Like nobody's open. It's something that really shows up when you're at the game live. Like there just aren't guys running open. They have everything covered up. You bait Heinchel into that pick by Tay Johnson early that went, I think, for 48 yards. Bryce Young could have had a pick that he dropped into coverage on. They could have forced 3 or 4 turnovers today, and it was just a really impressive performance. I just the way Notre Dame's going about their business right now feels pretty cutthroat, and I don't want to say it's like mature. It feels more just like they've got a real like sharp edge to them now, which feels different to me compared to last year's team. Like last year's team would just like beat you up and beat you up and beat you up, and eventually you kind of like ran out of gas. This year's team feels like they go for kind of kill shots early on. That felt like something we saw tonight. And they've got players like Malachi Fields that they have not had in a few years where you can throw it up one-on-one and somebody can go get it. I'm sort of with you as like you got into this, like Notre Dame feels like it has a lot more material to go here. Like they've got other levels to hit, but they're going to go 10-2. They're going to finish on a 10-game win streak, all by double digits. They're playing really well. It just, you watch them and think like, man, this is a team that could get on a run in January, and that's not something we certainly would have said in mid-September.
No, and I think to your maturity point, I think a lot of that stems from Jeremiyah Love. I think when your best player is as mature and as cool and calm and collected as he is, like I thought his post-game quote, I'm paraphrasing here, was as ruthless as it gets of like, they disrespected us, but we don't care. Like you mentioned the Don Draper elevator season earlier this year. That's exactly what it was. Like, good for you, Pitt. We're going to go out there and win. And he does it again. Another just incredible run. I mean, I thought this touchdown run was better than the Navy one. I thought the Navy one was more bad defense. Navy deserved as much credit for that one as Jeremiyah Love did, whereas this one, just juking 2 guys right in the middle of the field like that.
Really led the nation in yards per carry allowed. Number
What's
one.
That?
Pitt led the nation in yards per carry allowed. It's crazy.
And, by the way, CJ Carr entered today number 1 in the nation in yards per attempt, which when's the last time Notre Dame has ever had that? Brady Quinn, maybe? I don't know. I mean, you rarely see this the last 20 years or so, this offense be as aggressive down the field as they have been this year, and they've got the horsepower to do it now. But back to Jeremiyah Love, and I've said this in different ways and tweeted in different ways over the years. Notre Dame has been so blessed in that running back room. Like, go back 4 years with Kyron Williams, and really 5, 2020 and 2021. You watch the way that guy runs, the joy he plays with, the juice he brings to that table, and you're like, wow, like there's no denying this guy. Then you get Audric Estime for 2 years after that, and it's a similar version right down to
Josh Adams before that.
It was Josh Adams before. Well, he was a ways before that. I mean, he was 3 or 4 years before Kyron Williams really took off. And then you get Jeremiyah Love, who is just an all-time great. The way Jordan Cornette tweeted today, I think he's the best player of my lifetime. I post best in lifetime. I think it was the way he phrased it. And I mean, you watch him play, and I think back to like the Brian Kelly days, whenever they'd run up against an SEC or Clemson opponent. And I feel like you and Tim O'Malley would always be like, that team has creatures and Notre Dame doesn't. Like, that's the difference. Notre Dame has that right now. They got a few of them, but they've got the one in Jeremiyah Love, who is just an absolute joy to watch play football, make something out of nothing. I think he's the ultimate badass on and off the field with his demeanor and the way he goes about his business. Like, I just think it's just been an absolute privilege to watch that guy play football. And I hope you don't take it for granted if you're a fan of Notre Dame. I don't know. They keep finding these guys. So maybe it's someone next year. I don't think Jadarian Price is going to come back. I don't think it'll be Aeneas Williams. We'll see. But man, has it been fun to watch this guy do what he's done this year.
It's funny to think back to when in the summer I went down to St. Louis to spend time with his family, and his dad called him a psycho on the football field. And I was like, well, that's kind of a weird way to describe your own child. And yet I think it was the perfect way to describe Jeremiyah Love, because like he is a psycho. Because it's just like he plays with a lot of emotion and yet is stone cold at the same time. If you can do both at once, he somehow manages to hit that on top of the spins and the hurdles. I love Carr's 5-yard touchdown run at the end because Love is like lead blocking as if it's 0-0. And the Pitt DB that he runs into wants nothing to do with him at all. It's just like, good guys, we're good. Meanwhile, my head coach is trying to like score at the end, but like that's the way Love plays. It just is. There's a real, I don't know, just a screw loose vibe about him on the football field that is so much fun to watch. And so, yeah, if you are a Notre Dame fan, not to like bring down the room here, but like enjoy his last home game of the regular season. There's maximum 6 games left of Jeremiyah Love. So enjoy what you got, because while you're right, Notre Dame's been on an amazing running back run here. They're not going to get another Jeremiyah Love anytime soon because there just aren't. There aren't Jeremiyah Loves out there.
They're not. I mean, rarely, and I'm as guilty of anyone of like trivializing the running back position, particularly at a school like Notre Dame where they consistently put out good offensive lines. But man, watching that guy play is just it's awesome. Like every time he's reached that like Lamar Jackson territory of like the ball's in his hands, he's about to take off. Everyone hold your breath. Like Stephen Curry's stepping up for a 3-point shot. Everyone hold your breath. You know you're going to watch something really cool here.
The way this is last year when they finished out with that win at USC. I felt like I had watched Jeremiyah Love play in the Coliseum a lot. He just always been playing for USC under Pete Carroll. Like he is a like Reggie Bush level running back, which is an insane thing to say. And yet I think it is dead on because stuff he does is it's just not natural. You just don't see it. It's really, really been fun to watch.
Completely agree. How about they hand off the ball to him on 4th and goal at the 1?
I did.
We got a nitpick here because this is going to matter in the playoff.
Yeah, I did like to see that CJ Carr did line up under center at the goal line.
Yeah, it's a start.
It was just the wrong goal line.
10 games.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Don't do it at your own goal line. Do it at the other team's goal line. That was, other than the missed field goal that probably shouldn't have been attempted, and that 4th down play to Eli Raridon that didn't have a chance. Those were the only 2 things where it's like, guys, let's not do that. And you're right. In December and January, that kind of stuff's going to matter because the other team isn't going to be coached by Pat Narduzzi.
Or have Pitt's players. By the way, you mentioned field goals, and it didn't matter in this game. We need to take a moment and appreciate the fact that one program, Pittsburgh, has had kickers recently, one with the last name Blewett, and the other's first name was Trey. Yeah. Like, it's just, what are the odds of that?
Yeah, I wondered if, Budkowski had he'd come down with a case of illness because he didn't want to kick against his future team today. Are you saying? Well, hey, you were scouring Boston College's roster. Yeah,
Boston College, which is beating Georgia Tech right now, by the way.
Yeah, this is the early kickoff combined with like the playoff sort of scuttlebutt that's happening right now makes this an interesting podcast because, like, I think when I was texting you about like, hey, when are we going to get started? USC was kind of getting hammered a little bit by Iowa. Now they're winning. Alabama was down to Oklahoma. Now they're winning. They're
winning, but Oklahoma's driving to score.
Yeah. So it's
like Tim Murray texts us this week. Like, do we need to be worried about them getting leaped? I don't think so, but like, yeah, you want Oklahoma, Texas, and Michigan to all lose at some point, which I think they all will. But
yeah, but it almost all happened today.
Yeah. By the way, Notre Dame may have a win over a playoff team under its belt. Navy.
Oh, yeah.
Tied for first place in the American.
Somebody's got to go. Big win over South Florida.
Much like Pat Narduzzi, I think they care about Notre Dame. However, it doesn't matter. They can make the playoffs still.
Yeah.
And we say that, but they beat South Florida, who I thought was far and away the best team in that conference. So we'll see.
No question.
With the way, Duke's out of it. Duke's down 31-3 to Virginia. I was going to say if Duke wins the ACC and Tulane ends up winning the American, that could be very interesting. But it's, the best wins, I think, if USC hangs on here, will continue to be. And, hey, Boston College getting a win over Georgia Tech isn't too bad for that Notre Dame resume as well. And by the way, new college football playoff selection committee chair. Imagine that. Mac Rhodes, who was stumbling over himself last week about Notre Dame's offensive growth post Arkansas.
And if you're like us, who has YouTube TV, you can now watch the show.
I've got 8 games on right now, and it feels so refreshing to be able to do that.
We're back.
TV, and I have a new iPad that's finally being put to good use. I don't think that's going to really change much other than like the coherence of what Hunter Yurachek, actually the Arkansas AD, who's now the chair, ends up saying on that Tuesday night show. But we'll see. Maybe he stays on. What's the word I'm looking for? On schedule with the talking points a little bit more than his predecessor did, because it was really bad the last 2 weeks, and now we don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting. This is, I think, one of the negatives of not podcasting at 2 a.m. Like, Miami is destroying NC State, like tearing them limb from limb right now. Notre Dame also did something similar to NC State. Like, Miami's performances against ACC opponents are they're similar to Notre Dame. It's like, how does that get stacked up? I don't know. I guess the committee seems to be such a bizarrely composed group of people that I don't ever feel like I know what they're going to do before they do it, because I don't think they know what they're going to do before they do it. But I still, we talked about this with Stanford Steve during the week. Like, I feel like Notre Dame is a top 6 or 7 team in the country that hasn't quite figured out how to play like a top 2 or 3 team in the country, but on their day has the ability to do that. So it's be very interested to sort of see, as these results bear out today, does Notre Dame kind of hold at number 9 or not? And I say that as Oklahoma is like at the 10-yard line of Alabama.
They're kicking a field goal. If Oklahoma wins, they're going to jump Notre Dame.
You would think, yeah.
I can't see how they don't. But we've seen Notre Dame. Well, we've seen bits and pieces of them at their best. We saw them at their best last week. I still want to see more. The red zone offense still leaves a lot to be desired. CJ Carr is still like as good as he is. I think I don't want to say we anointed him too soon, but like I do think he's got some heat check moments for himself where it's like, oh yeah, he's a redshirt freshman. Like he's not going to be a finished product. He's not perfect, but he does bring so much more to the table than what they've had at that position in so long that it's easy to get excited. And I think he's found like the ultimate bailout guy, Malachi Fields. I mean, anytime there's a flag, he's going to throw it deep to him because he knows something great could happen. And that happened on multiple occasions today.
Yeah, I think Freeman, said it was a 50-50 ball that really is 100-0. And I mean, Fields' catch percentage on that stuff is ridiculous. He's kind of the guy they've been waiting for since the portal era opened. They haven't had a Chase Claypool type guy. And I don't remember Chase Claypool making catches the way Malachi Fields makes them. I mean, this is like NFL level production, or theatrics, I should say, on contested catches. And it just changes everything. Cause it's like, if you're going to hang out in the box and try to take away Jeremiyah Love, which you should definitely try to do that. Then you can't put a safety over the top of Malachi Fields. And he's shown that he's going to go up and make that more times than not.
This was, believe it or not, because it didn't feel that way watching it. Oh, I take it back. I was going to say this was their lowest offensive output per yards per game, but it actually Miami was. But just 387 yards, and it felt like so much more.
Yeah, I think when you get
the big defensive plays.
Yeah, you get your pick sixes in there, it kind of removes a possession. I did think Notre Dame moved the ball a lot more efficiently than that yardage total would suggest.
Right. By the way, we've got to get to the good stuff here. Shout out to Stanford Steve, guest on the show this week, who received a contract extension from ESPN a few days after coming on the show. And if you think, I actually have a list, because if you think we're joking about this podcast bump, let me tell you, it is insane. So if you're listening and you're like, if they're going to reach out to me, I don't know if I should go on, do it.
If you're Eric Schmidt and you're thinking like, should I do a podcast?
What about a Pitt kicker? You don't want to bring him on?
Yeah. I'm going to go find him after the pod.
I'm trying to pull it up because I had a file with all this. In 2020 alone, we had on Aaron Taylor, who made the College Football Hall of Fame that year. Clark Lee got the Vanderbilt job. Buff McGraw retired and went to the AC Network. Tom Rinaldi got hired by Fox. Gal Wang, who upgraded his shop. Barton Simmons, who became the Vanderbilt general manager, and Grace Rayner, who went on to win South Carolina State Sports Writer of the Year, all within a short period of time after coming on our pod. Steve also got promoted to game day, I believe, shortly after coming on our pod.
The previous time.
Mike
Monaco, things are going well for him.
Mike Monaco is having a great career. Dane Brugler has announced his wife was pregnant with their second set of twins this day, or a few hours after joining us on the pod as well. Oh, and Tim Murray got profiled in the Chicago Sun-Times, I think, right after the first time he joined us, and his head got so big that he's joining us all the time now. But again, that's the effect we have on people. But especially if you're bald, like, come on,
let's pat ourselves on the back.
It's all us, whether it's the Shamrock or the Independent. The juju, the vibes carry over. We will get to your questions here in a minute. Scott Hepler, I'm just going to put this in here. Don't be watching us while driving, please.
No, please, Scott.
Like, I'm sure like the side of my face can cause a lot of people to do bad things, but I don't want it to be like the result of a car accident. So please just listen, don't watch. But before we get to the rest of your questions, want to thank our friends at Obvious Shirts. OBVIOUSSHIRTS.com. Friend of the pod, great pod merchandise, t-shirts, quarter zips, hoodies, crew necks, and much more. Some bestsellers such as Domes on Domers or Southern Cal is Afraid to Play Us. All available at Obvious Shirts. So thanks to our friends at Obvious Shirts for their tremendous support of the Independent.
Do you think we could put Jen Cohen's entire email on a Obvious shirt? Do they make font sizes small enough to handle all that, or no?
Between that and teammate, that's actually series is a good idea. Like front, over, back.
A series of 10 shirts from Obvious Shirts highlighting USC's athletic.
How about just TLD? How about we keep the shirt we have, Southern Cal's Afraid of Us, and at the top we put TLDR.
Yeah.
Colon.
Also, our friends at Roback.com. That's RHOBACK.com. Promo code Irish for 20% off your first order. Hoodies, quarter zips, vests, workout shirts, shorts, joggers, pants, everything you need for an active lifestyle. Go to Roback.com. Use promo code Irish for 20% off your first order. Plenty of officially licensed Notre Dame game day apparel. In fact, I saw Jerome Bettis on the field wearing a Roback Notre Dame blue hoodie. So be like Jerome Bettis and go to Roback.com and use promo code Irish for 20% off your first order.
Maybe a future podcast. We'll see. I think he'd fit in perfectly here.
Do they have any bumps left? I'm not sure.
The bus bump, like that's got to count for something. We'd also like to thank our friends at DraftKings. One play can turn everything around. One upset can quiet all the noise. Snap after snap, the stakes get higher and higher, and no one brings you closer to the action than DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting. From live betting to odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff to the final whistle. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Own every Saturday with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code INDEPENDENT. That's code INDEPENDENT to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Jim Ullman. I've had my fill of wide receiver screens for a while. I think we had our fill of it after 1 week.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the concept as long as they go to Jordan Faison.
I think he's the one guy who is untackable.
Yeah, everyone else, no. But yeah, they definitely have some stuff to get. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm watching the Iowa USC game. I think that guy might have caught that on fourth down. But yeah, I like Faison doing it. there's no doubt they don't really run it all that well. But I think that if you gave me a hey, list of things that Notre Dame needs to get fixed on offense, the wide receiver screen wouldn't really be at top of my list. I would go short yardage at the goal line. I still don't think they know what they do best down there. I'm still waiting for them to put CJ Carr under center, but I can appreciate Jim's sentiment that the wide receiver screens don't seem to work as well as they should.
There's one here on that same wavelength, J. Carr. Great game by the defensive downfall of this team outside of the kicking game will be the O-line inability to generate a push, 10-game sample size. It's not happening. I do wonder. That. I mean, do you get Billy Shrouth back for the playoff, hopefully?
Yeah, you do.
Would change things.
Yeah, I mean, you get Shrouth back for the playoff. That changes up things a lot. But I get what J. Carr's saying here because, it's not a great offensive line. It's just a good one. But with Jeremiyah Love, that's fine. I don't think that they need to generate a whole lot of push with Jeremiyah Love. If they just had they had Audric Estime, or even if they had Kyron Williams or Josh Adams, I don't think this offense would be that great. They would be good, but they wouldn't have a chance to be great. With Jeremiyah Love is it's 3rd and 7. Let's run the ball. Okay, great idea. Maybe he'll go for a touchdown. That's a good play call with Jeremiyah Love and this offensive line. But I do think Shrouth, especially the way he was playing against USC, I think was phenomenal. I'm not saying it was Quentin Nelson-esque, but it was this is a dominant guard performance. And I think that he's got that ability in him, and having him back for the playoff, in theory, that should help bring that out.
Kevin Landers, maybe the ACC should start a social media campaign against James Madison to make sure their champion actually makes the CFP. I'll do you one better, Kevin. I think they should add JMU to boost their football product and basketball product. They got a good basketball team.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. The whole Team A, Team B thing. I get it. Team A looks pretty good tonight. Team B is going to enter the playoff on a 10-game winning streak, all by double digits. So Team B is doing just fine, too.
Cold as Brian. Pete, take it away.
Pete, since we all love a good service academy, how would DePaul fare against the Coast Guard Academy, the Merchant Marines? For those who weren't following along, my alma mater was victorious in the Monon Bell today. Was it 41-20? A road victory in Crawfordsville, Indiana. Dominant performance. I think much like Pat Narduzzi, Wabash maybe tried to score at the end to save face. But lo and behold, they've lost the Monon Bell 4 years in a row, which is sad. It's a sad state of affairs at Wabash. So shout out to DePaul, conference champions, I believe, and headed to the playoffs as well. So the state of Indiana will have multiple teams in the college football playoff again, just different levels of the college football playoff.
I think we got a new shirt idea. Patrick Walsh, belt to ash.
I think we can workshop that a little bit more, but I think Patrick might be onto something.
Well, we've gone full circle with the ash puns, right? Wasn't it ash because defenses and embers and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, it's been very, very impressive. JPM must be red bandana game in BC. No, funny enough, that was last week against SMU and they got killed. They should have done it against Notre Dame because you usually do get a push from that. And they played as good as they could possibly play while still losing by 15. They're losing now to Georgia Tech. But, I don't know why they saved that one for SMU. That made no sense to me.
It's the ACC. What does make sense?
Cold as Brian. By the way, did you see UMass shooting off fireworks after kicking a field goal and being down 45-3? I did not, but I know they got killed. And the one thing you can count on in the MAC this year is UMass losing.
Narduzzi-esque.
Jim Ullman. Tay-Tay. First time I said that, not in regard to the world's most famous person, equals stud. Yeah, he's 4 picks already this year. I think he's not the most improved player on the team from start to finish. He's certainly at the top of that discussion.
He's got 3-and-out level ability.
Oh, yeah.
Not something and it's weird. You go back to did you come out to the first practice that was open? I can't remember. In August? First practice?
No, I was not the first one, no.
Okay. So the first practice, Carr throws 3 picks, and we're all like, "Oh, what's wrong with Carr?" And then, lo and behold, like the next couple of weeks, he throws a lot more. But 2 of those picks were by Tay Johnson. One of them was like this sort of 50-50 ball that Carr threw up, and Tay tracked it and caught it. The other one looked like Pitt's pick 6, where it was like a Spider-Man out of nowhere interception. So yeah, I mean, the way Tay Johnson has come on as a player, I think is phenomenal. Full credit to Mike Mickens, the DB's coach, for yet another developmental win there. And to think like this entire secondary could come back intact next season. Like that's nuts.
BC just scored to take the lead.
Oh, way to go, BC.
ACC. Wow. I may or may not have sprinkled a little on a future a couple weeks ago on SMU to make the playoff at a very, very favorable price. And they're currently being offered 3 times the cash out because I just thought, why not? No one wants to win this league. Their schedule's easy. Let the rest.
No, I mean, did you watch Clemson Louisville on Friday night?
I did.
No one wants to win this league.
Points.
Just like you said.
Extra points matter.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate this one. Bill Foose. He says like Goose. I keep wondering how you pronounce your name every week. You have the best picture of anyone, home run and pizza. Does Rhodes leaving the CFP committee change our eye test rating? What's our ceiling this week in the rankings? Hard to say a ceiling without seeing the rest of these results play out today. If Oklahoma were to hang on, if Texas were to win, I think it could get a little dicey as far as moving up. I wonder if I don't think him leaving changes, but like the messaging is going to change because like he was just kind of going up there and it felt like winging it.
Yeah.
I mean, he had just factual or non-factual statements about Notre Dame when he got up there last week. He, a week before, started talking about offensive line play in Ohio State as a reason they're over Indiana. And it just felt like a guy trying to like prove he's watching these games closely or knows ball. And everything you've heard out of Baylor since then, like the guy has not been, I generously put it, himself. And it's just like, and who thought it was a good idea to be like, yeah, you get up here and lead this. And now we're going to put an AD who's in the middle of a coaching search, even better. And the AD who replaced him, Mark Harlan, is an AD whose team's going to be right on the bubble at the end of it, Utah. So I don't know. Ivan Mizell, we tried for the pod bump. I thought it should have been you. I don't think ultimately this matters a whole lot, but I just don't really understand the process for all of this. Also, Bill, with a follow-up, we'll wait for an answer while I house this home run and pizza. I may do the exact same thing once we're done with this pod, but I want to answer some of your questions before that. Mr. 2.0. Is Noah Burnett still the guy in the playoffs if he has enough time to get healthy mentally too, if that's a real issue? I think it's really hard to say. Like, if he's healthy, probably, but like, how do you judge health without going out there as your kicker? Like, it's such a delicate position from an injury standpoint.
It's just weird. Notre Dame. It's bizarre because you think back to Mitch Jeter last year. Going into the postseason was a disaster.
Right. But he was hurt. He was playing hurt. Like, you got to.
Burnett is hurt. Like, he's got a hip injury. But then all of a sudden, Jeter hits that field goal just before halftime against IU. And it's like, oh, all better now. Like, we're good. And he was. So I don't think kickers need. Like, I would like to see Billy Schrauth get on the field at Stanford and just be like, all right, test it out. Or Cooper Flanagan, I can help them a little bit at tight end. Gabe Rubio, can he come back? Getting them on the field at Stanford, I think would be helpful just as like a dry run. I think kickers can just go out there. Like, you haven't kicked in 2 months in a game? Fine, just do it. I think like Notre Dame's operation is not great. I think the snap and the hold leaves something to be desired at times, but getting Burnett back for the postseason, like they're not going to be able to go through the postseason and not get burned by the inability to make a field goal. Like that is impossible. The teams are too good.
I'm guessing USC won because Lincoln's gone crazy. Yeah, they're in victory formation. It's pouring rain. I think they're 6-point favorites and they win by 5. Vegas knows everything. Ryan Ambrose, what will the ACC tweet about Notre Dame this week? I got one for you. Hannah Hidalgo had 16 steals in a game. That's the most amazing stat I think I've ever seen, maybe in all of sports. That's insane. Except she was 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. Shame on her. But, that's just incredible. I saw that. I thought for sure it was a typo, and then I kept looking, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
I think that's probably where the ACC should focus its attention.
Yes, it's a basketball league. Or there are a couple that actually follow up on what you were just saying. Kaiser Klein for that aggressive passing attack down the field, which Denbrock featured in more today, besides the offsides throws to Fields.
Fair point.
Yeah, I mean, does that change
when they were going to? I thought Carr was going to throw 30-plus times today.
I thought they'd have over close to 500 yards, even if they were to lose this game. I was surprised. And again, I don't look at this as like, oh man, what's wrong with them? But it's just a box score that did not match up with the eye test as far as what we saw from them today.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like I was doing some local TV, and I thought that Denbrock's willingness to let Carr cook, as the kids say, was going to be a real key to the game. That was where Notre Dame was going to be able to find a lot of joy and success on offense. And then just, for whatever reasons, didn't really happen there. And, to be fair, I think there were a couple times where Jadarian Price missed a blitz pickup and Carr got blown up. That's not something we've seen a lot this season. Usually Notre Dame has been very good about keeping Carr clean in those kinds of situations. They weren't today for whatever reason. But we know Carr has that in him. That not a huge concern of mine moving forward.
By the way, I will not count this as like a podcast jinx, because assuming the game ended a while ago, but the email just hit my inbox. Did the women's basketball team really lose 93-54 to Michigan today? Because that's what their press release says. I have a hard time seeing that team lose by almost 40 points to anybody. Right after I was talking them up on this pod too. Oh well. This one you can maybe answer better than I can. Pete from Jim Ullman. Why do you think Freeman didn't put Minchie in late in the fourth?
I think it had a lot to do with finishing it off and making the score look like it was 37-9. And then that, not saying that Freeman was trying to run up the score. I think he was mostly just annoyed. So 37-9. Could you have put Minchie in? Yes. Would Minchie have enjoyed throwing a touchdown against Pat Narduzzi, to whom he was once committed? Probably. But I don't really know. You definitely could have got a series for Kenny Minchie in there, but I think Freeman's point of view probably is also, we're going to get a lot of time for Kenny Minchie against Syracuse and against Stanford.
Also in the inbox, Notre Dame USC, Friday night, Purcell Pavilion, women's basketball. I'll stop talking about non-football sports here, but we were talking about USC and Notre Dame women's basketball earlier. So I think that's appropriate. Sean McDonough. Not Sean McDonough. Well, Sean McDonough didn't call the game today. Joe Testor did, but Sean McDonough says, love Jeremiyah Love, hate the white pants. Here, Sean McDonough.
We're out on white pants? I feel like they've worn them and played well enough in them that I've kind of stopped thinking about it as like a sartorial.
I've gone on this rant every time. I've stopped going on the rant because I don't know if anyone wants to hear it anymore, but I hate it. I think it's terrible. I think you're the Golden Domers. I know your dome's still gold, but even they tweeted golden something today when they were taking the field. I'm like, well, not everything's gold, only your helmets are. I'm out on white pants. I think it's terrible. Just my 2 cents.
Wow.
Mr. 2.0. I was going to say, can we please line up under center?
Yes, please. I don't get it. I don't know if Carr's not good at it or doesn't want to do it. I have a very difficult time understanding why that's not an option on 4th and 1 at the 1.
Another one for Pete. John Mullichek. DePaul. Well, here, you take it.
Oh, John Mullichek says DePaul versus Wabash got a mention on College Game Day today. That's great. I'm pleased to hear about that. I did walk by the set a couple times after they got set up in the stadium. Took a picture of McAfee to send to my 12-year-old, who was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it!" He's big into the social media influencers, apparently.
Don't trivialize Pat Mack there if I call him a social media influencer. Guy's he's one of a kind. Whether you
He
like
is a
him or
genius.
not. He is a genius, whether you like him or not. Like, I don't know where that guy finds all the energy in the day to do everything he does and never like half-ass it. It's really, really impressive. A lot of comments about white pants. I agree with all of you. Dan Kaufman. Any possible way Charles back for playoff? If so, who's out on the line?
Ooh.
I mean,
I don't
think so, but
so.
it wasn't supposed to happen last year, and it did. And I know it's a completely different
Yeah.
injury, but it's like,
Yeah,
that would be something, huh? Like history repeating itself 2 years in a row.
but it's a good point. Like, I don't know who he displaces. Lambert, I'm assuming, but
Yes, I would think.
I think having him available maybe deeper in the playoffs could be a thing, because think back to last year. I think he got a few reps against Georgia, or maybe just dressed out against Georgia. I don't know if he actually got in the game.
Special teams, I think.
Okay, so he was active, and then obviously was needed in an emergency situation against Penn State, and then an emergency situation against Ohio State. Maybe that can happen in January. We're still 6 weeks away on that. So I don't really have a whole lot of insight on that one. But when Strouth got hurt against USC, I was told it was 4 to 6 weeks, but closer to 6. And I know there was some reporting elsewhere that it was just like multiple games, and maybe he'd be back sooner. I don't think that was ever in the cards. And we're going to come up on 6 weeks by the end of the year. But ultimately, whether it's Strouth, it's Rubio, what you need is him back for the CFP. You don't need him back to beat Syracuse or Stanford.
Correct. The Ozzie family. A&M almost lost, which would have helped ND. I don't think that would have helped ND.
No, I think
if they lost this and Texas, maybe. But I don't think
that you just want A&M to keep winning at this point. You really want USC to keep winning. I mean, the USC-Oregon game next weekend is a massive game for Notre Dame.
I don't think this has I guess it technically has a chance to happen. I don't think this will happen, and yet, as we've seen, especially when Michigan and Ohio State take the field together, strange things happen.
Yep.
What if USC and Michigan win out? Does the Big Ten get 5 playoff teams?
Oh, geez.
There'd be 5 teams, 10-2 or better. Michigan would leap Notre Dame with a win over Ohio State. Of that, I'm fairly confident. USC, I don't know. With a win at Oregon, probably not. I just think it gets very crowded quickly. And if Oklahoma and Texas win, it's also crowded. Again, I don't think any of this is going to happen. But it's college football. A lot of crazy stuff has already happened.
That's true. Usually it's teams losing when they shouldn't.
Right. Although, look, if Oklahoma wins today, I mean, who they have left? LSU, they'll beat them. I mean, I don't think Oklahoma will go 10-2.
Yeah, that would be a rough one for Notre Dame. It feels like the entire thing is a game of musical chairs, and even though people are supposed to be removing themselves from the game, I feel like people are adding themselves to the game, and they're not making any more chairs. So it's problematic for Notre Dame potentially.
I mean, they got Oklahoma's Mizzou and LSU both at home. Not saying those are automatic wins, but their games are going to be favored in and should win, both against backup quarterbacks. They're up 2 right now with 2 minutes left. Actually, Alabama has a 4th down that will probably decide this game here. I'm not worried about Texas because I just really think they're going to lose tonight. And if they don't lose tonight, they'll probably lose A&M. Vanderbilt could go 10-2. I'm not saying they'd leap Notre Dame, but like that would be how many teams 10 or 2 or better in the SEC and Big Ten. And I think every single one of those teams will get a benefit of the doubt, or at least over non-SEC or Big Ten teams. And that's where you get mega conferences, uneven schedules where a lot of people can have good records.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know. It's depending on how the results go tonight. For how well I thought Notre Dame played today, they could be worse off. Oh my God, what a play!
Alabama.
Yeah, they just ran a reverse on 4th and 1. For short yardage, it's hard for everybody.
I was just gonna say what. Okay, it worked.
I just think that Notre Dame could really be sweating it out on Tuesday night, despite playing very well on the road against a ranked team and kind of blowing their doors off.
where do I have this? Oh, ATB 2025. Does it make sense for Biaggi to scout the men's soccer team for a walk-on kicker at this point? Is he allowed to if the season's over for them? No.
So they set the roster at 105.
Right.
That's it. So I don't think it has anything to do with the soccer team. It has to do with the 105 limit, and Notre Dame locked in its roster before the season. So you can't go add somebody else at this point. I mean, you couldn't add a tight end from the basketball team. Like you can't do it once you're set at 105.
I suggested this to some personnel people who may or may not have been in the Final Four last year, and they all said no. But I guarantee you someone's going to eventually do this, and they're going to challenge it in court against the NCAA, and they're going to win because the NCAA loses everything in court. Now that it is a 2-semester sport, I don't think there's anything stopping these schools, these teams legally from playing early enrollees in the semis or championship or whenever you play your first game after winter semester starts. I think the NCAA, college football in general, for the most part, have come a long way for the better as it relates to like player empowerment and rights and whatnot. But as recently as 2019, the NCAA told LSU if you so much as have your early enrollees on your sideline, not in uniform for the championship game, we're going to ding you. So they had to put them in the crowd. Ohio State and I think Notre Dame last year had them on their sideline. But again, I don't. Right. I mean, they're full-time students. I don't.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be eligible? And by that same token, what would stop you from, adding a kicker from the soccer team? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I just think people are going to start getting very, very creative with this, and I don't think there's much NCAA can do to stop them. Sid Irish, MF doesn't talk. He ignores. Believe you me, Marcus Freeman. And I agree. I mean, that's what makes him so likable, right? Like, he doesn't stoop down to others' levels. He's not like online reading his name all day like a lot of these coaches are. No, I think he handles these things absolutely perfectly.
I agree.
It's a big part of the job. Some anti-Narduzzi ones in here. A lot more on white pants. There's a lot on pants here. Let me search for something non-pants or non-field goal related because that's pretty much all that's coming up here right now. But any thoughts on the Monon Bell or the Steelers?
No.
Where'd you eat or drink while you were there?
Well, I've got dinner reservations at Capitol Grill that I'm going to be hurrying off to momentarily. But I did want to give a shout out to sophomore quarterback Scott Ballantyne at DePaul. He went 24 of 35 for 328 yards and 4 touchdowns today. Very strong performance from Scott. So, Scott, if you're listening to The Independent, and I know you're not listening to it live because you're partying it up on campus, but well done today, Scott.
We said quarterback Scott Ballantyne. I thought it was going to be either a recruit you visited last night or some walk-on who traveled with his family to the team and offered you a beer.
No, someone much more important.
Clearly. Someone who's actually playing and winning big rivalry games. Good for them. Eric Fasato, Michigan over USC in that situation. Fair point. I do think that win over Ohio State, if Ohio State's undefeated, though, will.
I don't know. I mean,
USC
very,
very hard to ignore. I'm sorry?
So, USC beat Michigan.
Right. And then they would have beat Oregon in this scenario. Yeah, it's fair. I just think it's going to get very, very complicated if all that were to happen. I don't think it'll happen, but. One more on uniforms. Derek Jancartlu almost never did it. And the green uniforms, the gold pants are actual historical alternates. Penn State whites and the Jolly Greens aren't, and they look horrible to boot. I like the greens they've been doing when they go all green. I don't like the white pants, but that's enough about fashion, unless it's about Roback or obvious shirts. You can find Pete's work on The Athletic. Please subscribe. You can find my work at the Inside Zone. Please subscribe. It feels like the season's just getting started, and if you're a Notre Dame fan, it kind of is. But there's only 2 more of these weeks left in the regular season, so cherish them, enjoy them. No better time of the year, no better sport in America than what we're all experiencing right now. We're seeing it up close and on multiple screens right now. College football is undefeated. Thank you all for continuing to tune in every week, for sending a lot of good questions, for making Pete feel special with the paw. Right.
It's a very locked in listenership. I spoke to the Notre Dame Club of Indianapolis on Thursday night, and I got a lot of Monon Bell questions.
So. Well, you're talking to the newest sports podcasting professor at DePaul, so maybe we could have an LW rivalry coming up.
Love it.
Next week. They had a tough week overall, Buffalo and Northwestern, but they'll get it together soon enough. Unless you got anything else before your fancy little dinner there.
I do not. I'm off to the Capitol Grill. To
get a Primanti sandwich for the road.
All right, I can do that too. So That's it for this episode of The Independent. Following Notre Dame's 37-15 victory over Pittsburgh, this podcast went much longer than Marcus Freeman and Pat Narduzzi's handshake, but everything in this world does. So until next week, he's Matt, I'm Pete. Thanks for being with us on this episode of The Independent.